So many strong ideas, he's creative to the core. Evan White, cause he's been at it for 20 whole years with plenty to show for his illustrious career. So if you're looking to grow your brand, then Evan White is here. Cause talent tech PR is sure to take you very far. The HR tech space has a fresh face, and it'll make your brand a star. Spinning straw into gold and taking flight, you'll be soaring through the sky at incredible heights with Talent Tech PR from Evan White.
Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the HR Morning Show, the #1 spot for all things HR all morning long. I'm Danielle. Nice to see all of you again. And I'm here with my friend tour, Dan Riley. And we've got a packed show today covering the biggest headlines shaping the future of work, leadership, hiring, and workplace culture. So good morning, Dan. Great to see you.
I was very happy to get the guest host invitation. It was here it is, my chance to shine. I've always wanted to be a morning talk show host.
Well,
I seriously have. I really have. It's been sort of a little.
Let us make your dreams come true. I love that. And as a reminder, the HR Morning Show is a part of Purple Acorn. So make sure to head over to purpleacornnetwork.com to check out more content and conversations across the network. And a huge thank you at the top of the show. Can't forget to thank our marquee sponsor, calendarpa.com, for supporting the show. And you can also keep up with us on LinkedIn, catch us on YouTube, and of course, we're a podcast too, so you can listen to this episode and older episodes and future episodes wherever you get your podcasts. So here we are every Tuesday. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for joining us. It's nice to be able to bring in friends, friend tours, people who have been around, and we've been sort of running in the same circles, but now you get to be a part of the action. So I'm really excited. Dan, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about, where you're calling in from, where you're streaming from, and also like a little bit about your work? What should people know?
Yeah. Well, I am calling in from beautiful sunny Minneapolis.
Gorgeous.
Today. It's going to be 70 and sunny.
My favorite weather.
It's beautiful. I'm headed to Chicago in about 6 hours, but I think it's going to be pretty nice there too.
Love.
And so I've been, I'll do a short little intro. I've been in we'll say the HR tech, work tech space for many years. I founded, we're very proud of being the very first SaaS employee listening company called Modern Survey, and we grew that company. I sold that company to Aon. Then I was a partner and led the culture practice in Europe at Aon for about 4 years. Then founded Radical, and Radical is ultimately we are an AI platform that is all about the individual and teams, and how do we build connection and clarity and capability and trust amongst teams. So I'm really committed to very simply making work better, allowing people to feel safe, allowing people to get to know each other. We all work a lot. That's a part of our lives, and my job is to try to make it a little better for the person, a little better for the team, and better for the organization. On the other side of me is a filmmaker, musician. That's my love, but technology and being an entrepreneur is my day job.
Love that. And you could definitely tell from your background. Can you walk us through a little bit of what's behind you? Because there's a lot going on.
There's a lot.
And I imagine you get that comment a lot on calls. People are like, wow.
Yeah, so I'm a big vinyl fan, and behind me, for a period of time, I think we stopped getting them. In the office here, we have a cool vinyl record player, and every month we would get a new vinyl record, and within every record, it was really fun because you never knew what it was going to be. I mean, it could be any genre, any music, so it was awesome. Like, we just let it be what it was
So
going to be.
retro.
And then there was an artist's interpretation of the record insert. So it's like, even though it might have been an old, it might have been an old, Pink Floyd The Wall might have came, but it was a new, the same size as a record, like a square insert, and they hired great local artists or just different artists, and so this really cool artwork that represents different records. So we randomly made I don't know, a montage or a collage. I think it's a montage.
A collage.
No, a collage, because a montage moves, I think, a collage.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Yeah. So yeah, unless it's moving behind me. So yeah, we just randomly put it up, and there's a lot of from the Clash to, there's tons of Stooges, Aretha Franklin. I mean, you name it. There's just incredible musicians that have inspired me behind me, and so I love to have it. And it's colorful and looks cool.
It does. It really does. It reminds me of like you're giving Brooklyn artist right now. That's what you're giving.
That's a humongous compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I also wanted to give some context. Do you remember where we met? Like at a conference? We met, I think. Online.
Yeah, I think we met in LinkedIn, because we share, hundreds and hundreds of connections, and maybe someone made an introduction, and then we chatted, and I think it was, you were just sort of, you were obviously a rising star, but you were ready to start attending HR conferences. This was a few years back.
Yeah,
We talked about Transform, and I'm like, oh, you should come to Transform. Like, as soon as I met you, I'm like, there's other cool ones. I'm not gonna pick on any conference, but I think we chatted, and it felt like a good fit for you, and then you showed up, and you had this incredible rock star moment at that first Transform, and then the rest is history for you.
Yeah. And if you want a rundown of my rock star moment, I wrote a piece in my newsletter, which I'm now moving my newsletter over to another platform. But it is still there on LinkedIn, and it was like my Queen Esther moment at an HR conference, I remember, because it was Purim, which is a Jewish holiday, for anyone who doesn't know, that revolves around a queen, and Queen Esther was who I was emulating in my moment at Transform. So that was really fun. But yeah, we've known, I guess, each other for like 3 years nearly.
At least, 3.
Maybe more.
Maybe a little more.
Cool.
It might be 4 years this next trans, so maybe 3.5 or so.
Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. And we have some guests in the comments. Shout out to Anthony, who we shared the stage with at Transform, or I did, this year, and Dan had, several stage moments of his own. But yeah, it's such a great conference, and it's really, we did take this photo. We had our little rock star moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
What's the band? What was the band that? There's been a couple that have done great couch photos, but it looks like a band photo. It's kind of like Jack White and Meg White,
Yeah.
Stripes.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of that vibe. And what kind of camera? What is it taken on? Let's share with everybody. This is important.
Well, I took it on my my physical kind of digital camera, but it's actually like a film camera, and it's called a Camp, if anyone doesn't know. It's a great gift for kids in case you are sending your kids off to summer camp or adventures in the summer. It's a great way to capture memories without having a screen. And so it's a Camp camera, and basically you take a photo and you can't see the photo like a film camera, and then you look on your phone in the app, and then you can transfer the photos. So very, very cool technology for going retro.
30 photos and pick the best. You get what you get. And I think that's, the old school days, like
That's
1,
true.
2, 3 G's, and then you can have what you have.
Yeah, I love it. Well, happy to have you. Thank you for being here. And let's get on to headlines.
Yeah, a lot going on.
All right. So our first major headline is about Cloudflare, who has made around 1,100 jobs obsolete. So essentially, this is really not just a layoff story, but it's a story. If you read the article, I think it is in TechCrunch. It's really a story about workforce design and leadership communication, which is great. So essentially, they had a big layoff, and they've now said they made 1,100 jobs obsolete. And what's interesting is they cite that their usage of AI has increased more than 600% in the last 3 months alone, which is pretty insane. And they say that AI-powered employees require fewer support staff. So a lot of the layoffs happened not including but around the sales team, which I guess are core to the bottom line. And I think this is probably something that we're going to continue to see across. Oh yeah, Anthony did take that photo. He's in the comments saying that. Sorry, my ADHD brain. Yeah, so this is something probably that we're going to continue to see in the future with other companies, and probably that we are seeing in the news today. So, Dan, what's your take on this story?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see more and more stories like this. I think specific to Cloudflare, what's unique, or I think we should really pay attention to it is, for the most part, to date, Cloudflare has been strong revenue. They've been a company that's had strong performance for the most part. So this, to your point, and you alluded to it. And well, first of all, with all that said, there's still 1,100 jobs that disappeared, and so it really was a design decision. And so, again, it isn't the number that's it's 1,100 people, but again, they didn't say it was a performance issue. They didn't say it was market conditions. They ultimately said that AI's changed what the org needs. Right, to what the org needs to look like. So they're sort of, and they were being honest about it. I give them some credit and a nod for at least being honest that this is what they're doing. Is it the right play, the right long play? Time will tell. But I think again, it's hard when this happens. I know people who worked at Cloudflare. But I think this is a hard conversation for employees because it sets fear in too. Like, well, our organization's going to redesign, because you can feel safe, right? Everything's going great. The company's going great. We're hitting all of our numbers as we understand them. But all of a sudden, there's a new design in town, and it looks a little bit more attractive to the CEO. And we're going to start seeing more and more of that, and I think that's a big responsibility for HR and TA leaders that we can talk about.
Huge. And what's, I guess, the scariest part about this whole transformation is we haven't seen the other side of it, right? Yeah. This is just the first layoff of a formerly 6,100 person company, and now I believe it's around 5,000. Is what they cited. And to add on to your first point, the co-founder Matthew Prince said Thursday that the company is making the first mass layoff in the company's 16-year history. And they're cutting people from all teams, all geographies, except for salespeople, as I mentioned before, that can carry your quotas. And what's to build on what you said about the younger, the workforce that now exists, I think about the younger workforce, of course, due to my work. And what's fascinating is with the layoff story, older generations might have been through one of these before, right? It might be like, oh, well, I was expecting that. They might hear technology transformation or business evolution and efficiency. But younger workers, what they hear from this conversation is career instability. Yes. And there's no safe path anymore. And why be loyal if the structure changes overnight and I can be laid off tomorrow? And that's a lot of what I talk about in my premier, keynote of managing the 3 C's of managing Gen Z talent is that a lot of leaders don't understand that the core of it, right? The trust, the belief that you have a place at a company provides so much of the core of the why of like, why should I work hard, and why should I do more of what's asked of me, right, to get a promotion. But realistically, for younger workers, they just see this layoff happen, and there's so much instability, and there's so much, there's such a lack of clarity in where that leaves them and where their career is then going, that they just start to question, the organization itself, and their place in it, and then their whole careers, because, they don't have 20 years of experience under their belt. They have maybe 5. So that's one of the things that I'm immediately thinking about, and how that then impacts, right, the entire company culture and sort of people's desire to work.
Yeah, and you think you're spot on, and I think it's important to note that in this case, AI didn't necessarily take the jobs. Leadership chose to let it take jobs, and that is where instability and trust concerns comes in. So again, AI isn't this thing that's just inch by inch coming for us. It's the decisions that leadership makes, right, when they start to use org charts as a strategy document. And I think this is where, and again, I don't have enough inside information on what their decision, litmus test was for this. So I want to be neutral on this, except that I do know the outcome of this. It creates incredible instability. It creates this sense of, to your point, I'm working super hard, right? And it's why do I matter? It's that why. I'm committed to this organization. It's not just what I do, but it's how I feel. And all of a sudden, when this happens, you start to it hurts, and you start to feel like, well, why? If this is going to be that easy, why should I give my full self? Why should I show up and work my butt off? So I'll just give you enough of me, just because if this happens, then I can just move on. So you're starting to build a culture of people who are giving just enough, and I think that's really dangerous. The best organizations have the people that have people that dive in, that are really committed, and they're committed to building something bigger than themselves. And we're getting away from that now, and this is just a great example of some of the issues we're going to
exactly. And it's funny because, it's not funny, it's ironic, because so many of the layoffs that are happening, they're talking about outside of the sales function, that's where we're cutting jobs, and it's like, you could know the most hardworking person or be the most hardworking person at a company and still get laid off. And so for someone who's watching that happen, who might not have been laid off and who's safe for now, you look at that and you say, well, I once wanted to be like that person, and now what's the point, to your point, And I think that's incredibly disheartening and really unfortunate. And I would urge people who are still in tech to look outside of tech and look at maybe some boring industries, what I would call them, would be underrated, more like, like the industrial spaces of the world, and construction. And there's a lot of new money going into the infrastructure to support the trades and the new economy around that, as the younger workforces start to come in and buy, boomer businesses, which is what Cody Sanchez talks a lot about. So I would just urge people to think a little bit about like industries that you might not have thought about before. Data security's sort of coming into the play as a sort of sexy or tech space, and maybe a landing pad for a lot of the people who have been laid off in the past couple of years. So I'm excited to see the definition of sought after tech spaces sort of increase.
Yeah,
And
I agree, and I think the final thing I'll just say super fast is just a message to leadership and organizations who might be listening to this. Again, just to double down on this, recognize that as you're working to try to become speed to productivity, replace with AI, remember what you're eroding trust. And once you start to erode trust, the best people who you've decided we need them, you're going to start to lose that trust, and you're going to start to lose trust when it comes time to hire new people too. And again, I'm not suggesting you don't leverage AI. Of course, we must, but you got to do it in a way that's careful, in a way that's really taking care of your people, has a long play in mind. So there's no perfect way forward with this. I do think Cloudflare communicated. I don't know, you can always communicate more effectively, but I do think there's going to be lingering and unfortunately artifacts of broken trust that they leave behind.
yeah. All right, let's move on to our next headline, which is another layoff story, a bit of a different one. And I think it's important that we really inspect the nuances between these different hiring stories. So Tinder owner Match Group lays off also a bit of its workforce. And by a bit, I believe the exact number is, what is the exact number? I'll find it. But essentially they laid off a good amount of their workforce, and their first quarter earnings, interestingly enough, were up 1%, a whopping 1%. And they still made these sort of layoffs, and essentially they were on the earnings call and they talked about how they're basically not only cutting this workforce, but they're also, there's a huge downstream impact also, because entry-level jobs are how people really build experience as well. So there's an AI transformation that most companies, in my opinion, will attempt, first because it feels less disruptive publicly. They've essentially had a couple of quarters of where their earnings were not so good, and now they're cutting jobs and saying it's because of AI, when realistically it's probably to save face amongst their investors and shareholders. So that's what's going on with Match Group. I'm curious, Dan, what are your thoughts on this one, this additional layoff story?
Yeah, I mean, this one is definitely different. It's much more nuanced. Like you said, it was a little quieter, a little bit more done behind the scenes. For what I understand, wasn't a lot of you really no official announcements. Severance was light to very little. For what I understand, there wasn't really a big announcement, and as to the why as much. So I think all of a sudden just jobs quietly disappeared as we're.
That's why I couldn't find the number.
Yeah, no, that's right. There is no, like in TechCrunch, there's really no, I mean, I'm sure there's stories about it, but, so this is a unique one. I think it was kind of quietly scraping away, just to, again, using the org chart as a strategy document. But I think this is one, I think longer term effects of this one are a little more dangerous, only because, again, this creates trust, but I would much rather have explanation and a little more understanding around why organizations doing something. I think the old doing something more slowly and quietly doesn't make it more gentle or kinder, right? Just because you don't announce it or say exactly what you're doing or why you're doing it. In fact, I think that it's more dangerous down the road. So again, I don't have enough details because there wasn't tons of details about this, but it definitely it's going to be unfortunately a theme that we continue to see.
Yeah, And what they said in this little snippet that we have here too, is that the company is basically bringing AI into the equation for workers, and I think it's definitely different from Cloudflare because Cloudflare was already a tech-enabled, tech-first sort of company, right? They're building the infrastructure to support a lot of organizations, and so when you look at a company like Match Group, which you don't necessarily think, oh, they're tech first, they're tech enabled. Tinder, I think specifically of as a kind of sleeping giant, like so much of the decline in the online dating space and specifically tools where you swipe left or right is around the next generation's desire to meet each other in person and have in real life experiences and connect with each other. So there's like a huge a surge in people playing mahjong, which I played last night. It's very good evidence of that. So I would say it's a bit of a different kind of situation, and maybe we'll see Tinder and Match Group laying off a bunch more people in a couple years when they're a bit more AI enabled, or maybe 6 months from now. We'll see, but it's a bit of a different conversation.
Well, and I think from what I read too, is there so at Match, they've actually AI is actually now kind of as a part of headcount, and so they're really looking at it as so AI is now competing, or will be competing certainly for a headcount budget, and I think this is the argument that we sort of the philosophical conversation around is AI an employee, right? This is starting to happen, regardless of what you believe or not. AI is going to be competing at a much lower cost for budget, right? Especially in more repetitive and transactional and even tech-enabled roles. So I think that's to your point. I think we'll have to keep an eye on what Match Group does. And
I want to also shout out some comments here. Let's start with Anne. So Anne says, AI is here. That is why there has to be a connection with people. Handwork is important, but it is the connection. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, anyone who's heard me speak before, I mean, without connection, look, I'll just say it real simply here. And being human and having connection, I mean, that's how some of the best ideas are meant to come out of imperfection, are meant to come out of mistakes, are meant to come out of friction, or meant to come out of rewrites, or meant to come out of all the things where we stumble and fall, and we pick each other up through connection, through people. That's how the best things are built. Again, faster, without having really any understanding of how it's getting to our place, to where we're trying to go faster, leveraging AI, whether it's writing code or whether it's doing a number of things. While it's amazing, it's incredibly powerful and can be incredibly useful, we are stripping down connection, and that's super scary. And I will fight for connection. I'm pro AI and I'm pro humanity. So I agree with that comment.
Yeah, you can't do both. And then the next comment from Rob, viewing jobs as obsolete as a result of AI is probably short-sighted. Yes, some activities may no longer need to be done by humans, but companies need to look at AI as a multiplier, not a replacement.
Absolutely.
Great perspective. Yeah.
And it's up to the leadership and organizations and teams to make that come true. This is the devil's in the details with this, and I think that organizations have to fight for that, to make sure it's a tool, it's a multiplier, and doesn't become a mechanism.
And what I've been saying to individuals I know who are a bit scared and anxious and confused right now has been, make sure that you definitely know what you do and what you do well, but make sure that you're able to confidently communicate that to leadership and talk about that. And I think a lot of people are talking about that online and starting to build their personal brands. And I think that's the best career insurance that you can have at the moment. But I think the natural ability to speak about what you do and the impact that you make on the bottom line or something adjacent is one of the most critical skills that you could have, especially right now when so much cutting is happening, so many mass layoffs. So that's what I would tell y'all to do and how to move. All right, it is time for our first caller of the day. Hi, good morning, Teresa. How are you?
I'm doing well, Danielle. It's really nice to be here.
Really nice to have you. I'm so excited to chat today and hear more about your business and you as a person as well. So why don't we just start and you can have a little bit of time to share who you are and what you do best.
I work with organizations to create places where people want to work. I have a passion for good culture and engagement because we spend a lot of time at work. I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time working. And when you enjoy where you're working, who you're working with, it makes your life better. So I've been blessed to do this for, wow, over 20 years and work with amazing HR folks, amazing leaders, and amazing people. So that's my bread and butter. And on the weekends, I make people laugh and get paid for that. So not such a bad deal.
So cool. You and Dan have a lot in common, except you're making people laugh and he's making music.
See, we need to do a variety show. Dan and I can get together and we'll do a little variety.
Totally. And I know that the frame is a little bit cut uh, behind you, but because of the this production. But I think I saw an Emmy behind you.
I do
And
have I actually have two. I worked on a television show with PBS called Counterculture, and it was a talk
wow.
show at a diner. So, which was cool. So you would sit at the counter, and we had a two-camera shoot, and a wonderful host, my good friend Grover, and we did that for almost 3 years. We were nominated
Wow.
3 times. We got two Emmys.
That is so incredible.
So fun.
Congrats. I mean, what do you even say when someone wins an Emmy? Like, that's wild.
It's
Very cool.
I had so little TV experience. I didn't even know we could win an Emmy. I'm like, "What do you mean we could win an Emmy?" So,
Wow.
yeah,
That's incredible.
very
I need to learn more about that production behind the scenes, but because I'm trying to do something a little bit similar with a different premise, more take on dirty jobs, but next gen with a female lead and make it short form.
oh my gosh,
So
let's talk. I'll
yeah,
I'll I'll
let's
share
definitely talk.
everything I learned.
Okay, sounds good. So I wanted to also mention you do have a new book that you're also you've now written. So let's bring that back. Yeah, let's go. Make Waves, a career pathing guide to stand out, stay employed, and sail ahead. I'm sure it's also a bit of a laugh as well because you wrote it. So could you talk could you talk a little bit about this book and sort of why it's coming out? You know, what's your motivation to write this book and what people can expect?
I actually wish this book had come out 10 years ago when I first started working with it. I perfectionistically procrastinated to
Of
get this
course.
out. But right now, and one of the things you said, Danielle, is you said personal brand right now is the best career insurance you can have. This book is about career insurance, it's about employability. And I look back on my career and like, I never worry about work. Knock on every piece of wood that we can find. I never worry. And I'm like, am I delusional? Am I naive? No, there is a formula to career management where you will always be employable. And one of those factors is personal brand. And we use a boat model, and personal brand is part of your sales. Got to have strong
Love,
sales, strong sales.
love
So
that.
you've got a rudder, career development is your rudder. You've got the body of your boat, which is your skills, your experience, problems you can solve, stuff you can do. Your sales, reputation, brand. Do you have degrees? Have you published a book? Have you won an Emmy? All of those things are in your sales, but the motor is my favorite part of the boat. The motor is your professional network. It's who knows you, who knows you're awesome, and who's going to connect you to those jobs and opportunities that you need.
Wow. I love that. It's such a like, it's a bit of a simple way to put such a like hard and vast topic on paper and visualize it. I'm a very visual person. I feel like you probably are as well.
I ask people, so when we use this as a workbook in a career management program, I ask people, draw your boat the way it is now. It's kind of funny doing that with executives because they're very, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to draw my boat. Look, draw your boat, draw your boat. And some people have huge sales, PhD and published, but they have no motor, right? And they realize that they're like, you know what?
Yeah.
All this time getting all these credentials, which is awesome. It's a feather in your cap, but nobody knows who you are. Right?
Yeah. It's interesting because I was actually at a Microsoft AI Work Index event, which they put out this report, it's the Work Index. And I was speaking to one of the social psychologists who worked on the project. And I was like, oh, I've thought about going back to get a master's or a PhD before an org psych. And I walked away from sort of that, doing my research with the understanding that obviously we're thinking about credentials differently now than we did. I think
Yes.
we're becoming a lot less of a credential heavy and focused society,
Yes.
especially my generation. And secondly, something that she said really clarified it for me. She was like, yeah, well, I went and got my PhD and I did a lot of reading and a lot of research, and a lot of data, right?
Sure.
But now I'm barely using those skills. And what I'm doing more of is the storytelling
Yes.
and the narrative shaping. And how do you translate the data and look for themes and talk about that and public speaking? And I was like, wow, thank you, because you just lessened my load of shame and like, personal pressure of like, go get your PhD, because realistically, I'm doing all those things already that she would have done, right? And she's also leveraging AI to do a lot of the stuff that she did in school. So that and I think to that point, like careers are really changing and shape shifting in a way that is so fast.
I know.
So that then leaves me with the question for you. Because you have this background in HR as well, I would be curious to hear from you. How do you think CHROs could be supporting and their function could be supporting people in the kind of changing times where the winds are changing and it feels like the tides are changing at the same time? How do you recommend people sort of navigate and also help people navigate this time right now?
I am so glad you asked this question. It is starting to happen, but not on a grand scale.
Yeah.
Most of us were never taught how to manage our career in a holistic way. Most of us were taught, go to school and then get a job and get experience, but we were not taught the whole package. Good organizations now that care about employee engagement, they know, they look at their engagement surveys. People are saying, I don't have a career path here. My manager never talks to me about my career. I feel stuck. Good CHROs, good leadership, good organizations are actually providing people with the tools to manage their career. So it's a few things. It's number one, training your managers how to have a career conversation. Now we tell them they have to do it. Of course you're going to have a career conversation. Well, yeah, it's nice to say that, but like if I'm an IT manager, I don't know how to have a career conversation. I'm smart. I know all about IT. Teach them how to have that conversation and then have leaders role model what that looks like.
Yep.
And then get people to see the model that I share in this book is something we should teach. Your career is these 4 aspects. How are you doing with all 4? And based on what you do, what is the most important part of the boat to focus on? If you're a biostatistician, you're going to focus on your sales, right? You want to make
Yeah.
sure you have good credentials and you're published. If you're, a marketing person, you're going to work probably more on your motor, right? Getting to know people. I think organizations have a responsibility. Good organizations just want to do this, get their people prepared to manage their careers holistically. And they're not going to leave because you do it. I know what people are thinking. Oh, well, then they're going to learn and they're going to leave. No, when your company loves you enough to show you this, it's going to make you want to stay. That's
Yeah.
my
And it's such a great, I mean, all of what you said, flawless. And what's fascinating too is people say the same thing to me. Well, if we invest in them, then they're just going to leave tomorrow, especially Gen Z, right? Because they leave. And what I say is, okay, let's assume they leave. Then what happens? You will have invested in someone who then becomes a spokesperson for you and all that you invested in them to the next person, right?
Yeah.
Who then says, "Oh wow, like I never thought of working at Joe Schmo Shake House, Oh, well they really invest heavily. Even if you are a
Yeah.
frontline type of company, even better. You're getting people to who might formerly not have thought about, oh, I can go work as a barista, at this company and like just do that. They might not have formerly thought that they could have a career in whatever that is. And
Yes.
so then you're getting them to think long term and holistically,
Sure.
like you're saying, which then gives back, I mean, in so many different ways, not only referrals to the company, but also people talking about you positively from a consumer perspective. Oh wow, I worked there. They're amazing people. You should go buy that product, right? Go use that service. And I think that a lot of CEOs and CHROs, I mean, I think more CEOs are a little bit short sighted when it comes to that. And they don't think about the long term impacts of that can't really be measured as it stands. I think there are ways to
Right.
measure them. But anyway, that's my shtick about that one.
I love your shtick about that because we're in alignment on that.
Yeah.
People will leave and be ambassadors for you.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it matters more than ever when you have all these, different ways that people can learn about
Oh yeah.
careers at X company. To sort of wrap up, I would love for you to give us a bit of a bit, because you are a comedian, so we have to ask you. I'm not going to ask you to to tell a joke, but I'm going to ask you for your bit.
All right. I'll give you, it's a short bit, and this is a
Okay.
newer one that people seem to like. So I asked people, how many parents do we have in the audience? Round of applause. All the parents clap. I love parents. I love parents because they often have that sticker in the back window of their car with the stick figures. You know what I'm talking about? It's got like the
Yeah,
mom,
yeah,
the dad, the
yeah.
3 kids, the dog, the cat. I love that. Now, my husband and I, we don't have any children, so we just have 2 stick figures with bags of money. That's what we do. It's all about
That's
choices.
good.
Thank you. There
That's
you
good.
go.
That's good. I thought you were going somewhere else with the sticker because my dad has definitely has a USC Trojan, sticker on the back of his car because he sent 3 kids to USC. So he's
Nice.
gonna wear that badge forever with that tuition. But it was so great to have you. And where could people find out more about you and also buy the book?
Well, the book is on Amazon, so make waves. You'll find it out there, and it's under the career section. You'll find me at High Five Performance, which is the name of my company, and let's connect on LinkedIn. HR friends, I love connecting with HR people. Anybody going to SHRM 26? If you're going to SHRM 26, I speak Thursday, June 18th. So I would love to see some friends come up and say, "Hey T, I heard you on the HR morning show."
Amazing. And if you happen to come to New York, I'd be happy to
We
help promote an event or whatnot. I feel like we'd be a good pair with
we
the
would
with the little
oh,
fireside chat conversation.
we're staying in touch, girl. You can't get away.
All right, sounds good. Well, have a great day and thank you
You
so
too.
much for joining. I believe it is time for a video. Yes, too.
Erica,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm great, Dan. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Well, welcome to the morning show.
Yeah,
You
I
get
appreciate being here. I'm actually a second time guest.
second time. Oh, look, all right. See, I'm sort of a new host, so I need the notes of this stuff. I'll talk to the producer.
Yeah, I think it was 2 Halloweens ago. I was talking to Danielle, and she was dressed up as Daphne. So that's how long ago I was on.
Fantastic. Well, so then the community probably knows a little bit about you, but I have to say, I was going through your LinkedIn profile and your website, your CXO of Instant Teams, and so can you give just a little summary of what you do? And it's super cool, and I have so many questions, and I wish we had more time. So I will do my best to ask as many questions as I can. But if you give a quick summary of what you do and why you do it, I would love for our listeners to hear that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, like you said, I'm Erica McMannes. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Instant Teams. I'm also one of the company's founders. So I have a business partner. We have our long story on how we got and why we decided to start Instant Teams about 10 years ago. But we function as a total experience marketplace, and we are building out employee and customer experience teams for brands across the nation. And the unique or the differentiator to that compared to maybe other companies that do that is that we built the organization to employ military spouses remotely. So my husband just retired 3 years ago, was a military spouse for 22 years. We moved 14 times in those 22 years, and that career progression, career continuity, like moving every 2 to 3 years, huge personal challenge, but not just for me, millions of other military spouses throughout the military community. So we just had this deep passion to build a business solution that businesses would see fitting right into their companies operationally, hitting business outcomes while being able to employ a community that is sometimes overlooked.
That's I love that, and so what do you think? So now, when I was reading about that last night, obviously this is a gap that so this is a way to move around traditional hiring and make sure there's opportunity given to military families. So from your perspective, what was the break point? Like, why wasn't that happening naturally, do you think? And so I'm just curious, so why did you decide we need to step in to make sure there's more visibility and more opportunity? Was it just lack of focus, lack of visibility? What were the whys?
Yeah, I think multifold. One was just logistics. So before remote work really was seen as a large solution, military installations are usually located in not highly populous, metropolitan, booming business areas. And so before remote work, just being able to have access to something, if you found something local, you were literally going to have to leave that job and just start over again in 2 years. So that remote component and really understanding how to scale a business that could bring a solution to organizations while employing military spouses remotely, like we saw that as, hey, if we can figure that out, there's great opportunity for businesses and impact for the community there. So I think that just logistics of in-person or remote. And that was a unique thing for us to be leaning into. We started in 2016, and so we had this remote first model for 4 years when all of a sudden COVID happened and the rest of the world was like, oh, remote first. Okay, this is making sense. And so that was a unique place for us to be just kind of, in the industry and in the space. I think also there's just a lack of visibility and misunderstanding of who the military spouse community is as a workforce. And so we do a lot of advocacy around that. But really, at the end of the day, if we're able to build teams with this community, like that outcome speaks for itself. And so the more we're able to do that and scale, that amazing piece of the workforce sitting there that a lot of people don't have access to, or they don't even realize they can have access to it, it just makes it more powerful.
I love that, and I'll say it again, but thank you for what you do and the opportunities that you give military families and military workers, and I love that. And so on that, picking up on remote work, kind of just to take one step back, when we talk about flexibility, too often we we frame it up as an employee benefit, right?
Mhm.
And I would argue, and I think you would probably argue, that it's a retention strategy, and it's ultimately not even a retention strategy. It's just a way to some of the best employees, the right place, the right opportunity, the right skill set for the job. So what do you think organizations get wrong when they're building remote teams, and especially when they're really trying to keep humanity and connection across remote teams? So how do we keep that sense of connection, and how do you feel about flexibility being framed up as an employee benefit?
Yeah, one of my favorite topics, and has been since we started the company, is just around that connection piece, right? Like, how do you build culture when nobody is in person? How do you get to know people?
Yeah.
And really, the very first document that we wrote in all of the company was called An Ethos for Remote Communication in 2016. And I go back to that often because we really saw, if we were going to build this and it was going to scale and it was going to make great impact, we had to be sure that we had people who trusted each other, that we had systems and processes for recognition. And so we built that from scratch over the past 10 years. And I mean, there's very operational pieces of that, but there's a lot of programming and culture from our people ops side that we do for that. I think what we have done the best is starting that connection journey before anybody ever becomes, whether they create a profile in our marketplace or become a part of our talent community. Is we do 85 events for military spouses across the nation every year. So we are like way at the top of that funnel, building trust and relationship within the community. And so that there is in-person connection opportunities at that very, very front end. So we are real people, we are military spouses, we do these great events across the nation. So that starts to build those building blocks. And then even virtually, right? You can come to a webinar, you can hear who we are. We bring in guests before you're ever a part of the company. So you've got that little bit of ability to know who we are and build that connection before you ever enter those virtual doors, so to speak.
That's awesome. So so immediately amongst the military spouses, there's this sense of community, sense of connection, sense of belonging.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So so specific to, let's pick on HR a little bit in a healthy way. I've been in HR for many years and from the tech side, but so what do you think? What do you wish? Maybe is a good way to frame this up. HR leaders would. I always sometimes like to ask the question like this: what do you wish they would stop doing when it comes to hiring overlooked talent, and in this case, especially with the work that you do? I mean, how do we sort of bridge that overlooked talent gap? And number two, obviously with AI right now, and I know we don't want to get too much into this, but there is this sense of automation, and we're not really getting to the heart of connection even during the interviewing process, and some of the best talent is being gets frustrated, especially in younger workers that do not want to go through AI interviewing. We prefer to bow out. What are your thoughts on that and some of the trends that we're seeing?
Yeah, so I'll give you what I wish people would start doing, and then I'll hit the AI, because I was listening to your conversation before I came on, and very, very relevant and aware of things happening in the space, especially in the customer support space, right? Like there's a lot of volatility just like anywhere else. So specifically for HR teams, a stop doing is stop treating military spouses as veterans. And I know that sounds very strange, but a lot of people in hiring processes, whether it's been built through the ATS or onboarding, there's a lot of military affiliation opportunities to self-identify. And a lot of times people want to just lump in, military spouses under veterans, or it's not its separate category. For a very, very, very small thing to do. But it allows military spouses to already know that your brand is acknowledging them as a specific workforce. So that brand building, that employer brand building, that connectivity, that knowing that they see you as an individual versus just kind of lumping you into the greater military community is a really easy thing to do to attract military spouse talent. There's a lot of legislation around military spouses from a location, home of residence. So like things to start doing is kind of understanding some of that around military spouses. It's called the Military Spouse Residency Relief Act. It is legislation. And those are types of things that HR teams can do a much better job at understanding if you are employing somebody and they need to move, or if you're onboarding somebody and they say, I live in California, but my home of record is Virginia, how not to freak out and how to understand how to handle that from an HR perspective. And then last would be that military spouses are not a homogenous workforce. There are over 12 million military spouses that exist in the US, which is a number most people are like, wait, 12 million? That's active duty, National Guard, Reserve, Gold Star families, veterans. So big group and a lot of opportunity there. So letting go of biases or stereotypes or what you just kind of automatically tag somebody when they say they're a military spouse. Like where does your brain go and where do you stop their opportunity because you've categorized them? So that's my advocacy spiel there.
Love it.
So on the AI front, it is really interesting. We're in a very interesting space in that we are providing teams of customer and employee experience to large brands. And we do see changes happening. And so for probably the past 18 months, we've been really interested in how do we get our talent community ahead of the curve. So we used to do a remote ready course before remote ready, and now it's like that AI readiness. How do we get people to be higher level? How do we get them to understand how to use AI tools so that we can become implementation support? Like our teams aren't just reactive or proactive customer support teams, but we're really a part of the transformation of people leveling up productivity or organization. Because I heard you say you're pro AI and pro humanity. One of our differentiators for our teams has always been this is a highly empathetic, highly resilient workforce, very culturally affluent, having to live all over the place. And those are skills that AI is not going to catch up with anytime soon. So the challenge is figuring out what is that balance? How do we help our customers understand that? How do we get ahead of the market and helping people understand that you're going to have both and where do those actually fit? And I think that's just a hot mess out there right now. No, people are doing different things. People are implementing things. People don't know what they're doing. Some people do. So it's a messy time. So
it is a messy time, and yeah, exactly. And it's that tension in between the two. And I'm an optimist, so it's the opportunity we have to stay very human, very empathy. We've talked about empathy for years. There's no better time to make sure we're practicing the art of empathy every single day.
Yep.
So thank you, Erica. How can people find you? What's the best way? LinkedIn?
Yeah, so instantteams.com if you're interested in just learning more about our marketplace. And then I love LinkedIn. I'm there almost every single day. So you find me at just Erica McMannes, and happy to connect further.
Perfect. And I'm going to reach out to you because I would love to learn more. So
yeah, sounds great. Appreciate y'all. Thanks.
Right, thanks everybody, and thanks Erica. Back to you, Danielle.
Wow, love that. Love that interview. Quick shout out to one of our sponsors, Talent Tech PR by Evan White. A little sicky poo, sorry. One thing we talk about constantly on the show is how crowded the HR and talent space has really become, especially with tools. And every company really tries to say that they're transforming work and redefining hiring or changing culture, but very few organizations actually break through that noise in a meaningful way. So that's where Talent Tech PR comes in. It helps HR tech and future of work companies build visibility, credibility, and real industry conversations that actually resonate with people shaping the workplace today. So hit up Evan White for media strategy, to thought leadership, to helping brands show up authentically in this ecosystem. And he really understands how to connect with innovation and audiences that matter the most. So if you're building something in this space and you want your store to actually reach the right people, make sure to check out Talent Tech PR and Evan White. Awesome. Well, that is our show. So thank you, Dan. Oh my gosh.
I have one. I carried it around in my bag waiting for this. I'm joking. It just happened to be. I was laughing so hard when I had to show off my Emmy. I've never.
Oh my God. Well, now I know what to say. Mazel tov. That's so cool.
Anyway,
what
sorry,
did you win an Emmy for?
Interrupted your closing, but I had to flash the Emmy.
No, you had to. That's a great moment. Wait, tell us all. What's the Emmy for?
It's for so PBS as well. our previous guest. So it's we made a PBS documentary on the making of a movie we released called Tuscaloosa.
Oh, wow.
So it was actually a
So-
documentary on the making of it.
So now I know PBS is like a backdoor to getting an Emmy.
We didn't know either, and this is it's very heavy.
Oh,
it's like a
boo.
real, I'm gonna give
Boo-hoo. It's really heavy. I don't know what to do with it. You could just give it to
I'll
me.
just give it to you. Yeah.
I think I'm almost ready for the show, Theresa, for our talent show, which would be a fun thing to do. Well, thank you again to our sponsors, Talent Tech PR and Calendar PA, for supporting today's episode, and of course, thank you all for joining and tuning in. There was so much conversation happening today, so big shout out to Rob, Anne, John. I know we didn't get to all the comments today. Anthony, and of course Jen, Martin, and thank you so much to our guests, of course, for joining us and giving us something to talk about. And it's really fun to keep up with this conversation of the ever-changing world of work that is upon us. So make sure you keep following Purple Acorn on LinkedIn for clips, updates, and future conversations. And if you want to see more from the network and all of our other shows, head over to purpleacornnetwork.com or check out our show on anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you missed any part of today's episode, I know some people have to drop off because they have to work, you can always find us as a podcast, again, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you get them. So for Dan Riley and from me, thank you for spending your morning with us, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. And also, Dan, where can people keep up with you but before next Tuesday?
Yes,
if you're back next Tuesday.
I would love to do that. Yeah, do I get the job? We'll find out.
We'll find out next Tuesday.
LinkedIn, if you search Dan Riley and Radical, I'll come right up. I look the same. I have glasses on in my photo. And radicalwork.com, you can go there and send in the info or support, and it'll wrap around to me at some point. But LinkedIn's probably the best place. So thank you, Danielle, and thanks to all the amazing guests. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much for joining. And again, we will see you all. Have a great week. And also, happy belated Mother's Day, because I wasn't here last week. To all the mothers out there, we love you. Going to dinner with my mom on Thursday, so really excited for that. And see you all soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.